The last thing you'd expect from someone who overcame lust is this. I didn't start by trying to stop. In fact, the night everything changed, I wasn't praying, I wasn't strong, and I definitely wasn't winning. I was seconds away from doing what I'd done 100 times before. Phone in my hand, door locked, heart racing, and then a thought hit me so hard it felt like betrayal. This isn't even pleasure anymore. That moment didn't save me, but it exposed me. And once lust is exposed, it starts to lose its power. For years, lust felt like my secret fuel and my secret shame. From the outside, I looked fine, focused, disciplined, maybe even spiritual. But behind closed doors, I was losing the same battle on repeat. Promise, fall, regret, reset, over and over. What scared me most wasn't the failure. It was how normal it started to feel. Research shows repetition doesn't just form habits. It reshapes identity. Slowly, without realizing it, I stopped asking if this was wrong and started believing this was just who I was. But lust doesn't begin with desire. It begins with escape. Neuroscience explains that dopamine isn't released when you feel pleasure, but when you anticipate relief. I wasn't chasing images or bodies. I was chasing silence. When I felt lonely, stressed, rejected, or empty, lust offered instant anesthesia. Not healing, not joy, just numbness. And numbness felt easier than facing myself. That night, I stayed still long enough to feel what always came after. Not guilt, emptiness. A hollow drop that followed every high. Scientists call it the dopamine crash. Spiritually, it felt like something sacred was leaking out of me, and I finally noticed the damage. That's when the real question surfaced. Not how do I stop, but what am I running from? Everything shifted when I stopped hiding. I told someone the truth, not the filtered version, not the one that sounds manageable, the real one, the habits, the thoughts, the shame. I expected disappointment. What I got was compassion. They didn't lecture me. They didn't rush me. They just listened. Then they did something I didn't expect. They prayed for me, right there, out loud, calm, confident, as if they believed freedom was actually possible for me. And something broke. Not instantly, not magically, but deeply. Research shows that social support combined with spiritual practices strengthens self-regulation and emotional resilience. But what I felt went beyond science. It felt like the weight I'd been carrying alone was finally shared. Like I didn't have to fight myself anymore. Like grace stepped into a space where shame used to live. After that prayer, the battle changed. The urges still came, but they didn't feel invincible. Instead of fighting them with anger, I learned to sit with them. Lust had trained my brain to escape discomfort instantly. Healing required me to stay. Studies show urges rise and fall like waves if you don't act on them. I tested it. 10 minutes, 15, sometimes longer. And then the wave passed. Every time I stayed, my brain rewired a little. That's neuroplasticity. That's renewal. I started replacing escape with connection. When the urge hit, I asked what I actually needed. Rest, truth, prayer, movement, presence. Lust stopped being my solution because it was no longer my only option. Here's the part no one talks about. Overcoming lust didn't make me feel powerful. It made me feel peaceful. My mind grew quieter. My faith grew honest. I stopped seeing people as objects for relief and started seeing them as souls, including my own. I still get tempted, but temptation no longer defines me. Because lust was never about desire. It was about disconnection. And I didn't overcome it by trying harder. I overcame it when I stepped into the light, received prayer, and finally believed I wasn't meant to fight alone.